What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Backpacking Podcast. As always, John Kelly here with Jeremiah Stringer, the king of Kentucky backpacking. Jeremiah, the beard's already starting to grow back, man.
Yeah, you know what? It grows a little bit more every day, half inch a month, baby. So we are on our way back out. Bridget's loving it, though.
Really? Loving that it's growing back?
No, she says, I can see your face. This is the face I fell in love with.
You keep saying that. You just like to say that, don't you?
She's in love, man. What can I say?
I think we all are, Jeremiah. I think we all are.
Can't choose who we love, you know.
So I got to watch some videos this fine day from yourself and Mr. Backpacking with Jason, sir, and from your Grayson Highlands adventure this past or a couple weekends ago. Really interesting stuff there, man. It was kind of cold there, wasn't it?
I disguised mine as a hack video. Did you see that?
You did. I noticed that. I noticed that.
For people that don't know, sometimes it's a little hard to get people to watch your trip videos. So if you just lie to them and say it's a talking head video,
if you're deceitful, then you can get people to watch your videos.
Got to be a little bit clickbaity.
That's very clickbaity. So Jeremiah, we're just gonna get right to it. There's no sponsor tonight.
No.
So we got no sponsored section to do. We are getting ready to bring in a person who has been on here as many times as anybody else in the history of the show. This is fourth time on the Backpacking Podcast. Do you realize that?
Setter. He
record
is a
setter.
Also a record setter on foot, man. This guy walks a lot.
Oh my gosh. How many miles has this guy hiked? This is this guy right here that we're about to have on this podcast. Rue McKenrick is genuinely a professional backpacker.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, man. He's professional with a capital P.
He's doing everything the rest of us wish we could do. It's pretty awesome. And so let's go ahead and bring on our good friend of the show, Mr. Rue McKenrick. How are you, sir?
Hi, guys. Oh, so good to see you, as always.
Yeah, man. So you've been busy, haven't you?
You know, it's the journey that never ends, and I'm delighted by that most days. And so I came into Bend, Oregon, where I started in 2019 on the American Perimeter Trail. And so I walked into Bend, and that was the first week in October. So it was October 8th. And I had a lot of administrative work to do with the conference. And I'm the executive director. So I really appreciate that part of my life as well. And things all started happening very quickly. So Bend is my hometown, and I was only there like a little bit over 24 hours. I thought it was going to be there for a couple months.
A quick turnaround.
Yeah, little did I know there was other plans for me. And so I caught a ride to Montana, and I went with Wilderness Mindset Productions, who's doing a documentary about the American Perimeter Trail. Wow. And so I was with them for a while. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they just completed a documentary on Graybeard, who used to be the oldest man that had hiked the Appalachian Trail. And he just completed paddling down the Mississippi for the second time this past year. So they just released a documentary on him.
Oh, Rue, I have to tell you something. That's
Yeah.
actually
Oh, please do.
a bucket list for me. Paddling the Mississippi River is actually like a bucket list item for me. I've got a buddy. We've talked about it multiple times.
What?
And we've just never pulled the trigger on it because it's like 3 months to do it, right? I think it takes like 3 months to do it. And I've got kids and a wife, and getting away for 3 months is really hard. But we even talked about like maybe doing it like 2-week sections over a course of time. But man, paddling the Mississippi is one of those things I've always wanted to do. That just sounds like a blast.
I may have some people you want to speak with then. So yeah, and check out the documentary. So,
absolutely.
And after I was done there, I continued on to Michigan, I went to where the North Country Trail Association has their headquarters in Lowell, Michigan, and that's also very close to the location of the first ever American Perimeter Trail shelter.
You've
So,
got your own
I,
shelter starting to be built.
yeah, we do.
Wow.
So that was great to go see it. The gentleman who built its name is Buck Huff, and he's a member and a volunteer, and it's wonderful. It's made out of an old corn bin. It's got a wood stove in it, and beds, and a sink you can use as
Wow.
electricity, and it's great. So check that out at Bin Walking on Facebook if you want to see pictures of that. You're going to be really impressed. It's all reclaimed material, all
That
of it,
is
the whole thing.
awesome.
What are you going to name the
Um,
shelter?
Oh, it's called bin walking because
Okay.
it's made out of an old grain bin. It's recycled old, like really old, older than me, grain bin, and so it's bin walking, two words, and bin is spelled bin. So you been walking? So
That's
that's the name of the
great.
shelter,
That
That's
is
uh,
great.
clever.
and it's really it's been fun. The American Perimeter Trail goes past the shelter, but the North Country Trail does not. So the
Oh.
North Country National Scenic Trail actually moved on to the American Perimeter Trail so they could go past the shelter. So lots of,
You actually
yeah.
got the North Country Trail rerouted.
I'm not going to take credit for all
Oh,
that. I mean,
take
it
it.
went to
Take it.
committee.
Take it. Just take it. Go ahead.
I
Go ahead. Take it.
okay. I inspire things to happen, but I don't.
That's right.
I take credit. I take credit for very little of this. So, um, yeah, it's amazing what a small group of people can do. It reminds
Yeah.
me of that quote from Margaret Mead about a small group of people changing the world, of like-minded people to change the world. And she says, in fact, it's the only thing that ever has. So we see that. I see these kind of affirmations of my dream and what I've tried to inspire and accomplish out here all the time. And it's, people often ask, like, how are you getting this done and that done? And um, I like to be the person to put things in motion. I like to be the person who's kind of the brainchild. Obviously, I did a lot of the legwork, and but really it's a community effort, as it has to be if you're involved in something like this. So
But what's it like to have a dream for something
mm,
and something you're thinking is so much bigger than yourself and it almost feels unattainable, and
mhm,
now all of a sudden it's attainable? What does
mm.
that feel like for you?
Oh my, I still keep waiting for that moment when it feels like I can rest. you know I keep waiting for it.
Retirement's a myth, bro.
I just keep waiting, like, for that day where I can be like, we've gotten to this point. you know
Yeah.
um I can get, like, for instance, maybe like mauled by like a bull or something. Just mauled, like, horribly. I'm talking like a coma for possibly 6 months, 6 to 8 months,
Just a
feeding
little.
tube, like the whole thing. Like, uh, it doesn't turn out well, so we have to let me go, and like everything turns out, even if I'm not around. Like, I dream of that day.
Well,
So,
I'm not going to dream of a
not.
day when you get mauled by a bull. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's not something I'm looking forward to having happen. Just between you and me.
Okay, well, we'll leave out the bull part, but the thing is, it's like I always feel like I have more to do, and so it is like a process that never ends. And I signed
Mhm.
up for this to be my life's work. I think there was like a thought that when I actually stopped backpacking, then it was done. But actually, that's when the real work
Right.
began. And so, and the hiking, just it. I thought I was, like I said, I thought I was done for the winter, and I ended up getting an opportunity. I got an opportunity to go hike through Florida, which I did. So I'm just back from that. So this whole time I thought I was going to be in the front country. I've learned how to work from the back country, so that works out okay. Um, but so yeah, I just hiked the length of Florida, and I'm in the Carolinas briefly right now, but I'm leaving tomorrow morning to go do some work for the
Well,
APT.
I'm
So
wanting to talk.
I'll be back out again.
I want to talk to you about the Florida Trail. Before I do,
Mm,
I just want to, just in case people aren't familiar, American Perimeter Trail, just like the one sentence version, 14,000
mm,
miles that circumnavigate
mm-hmm,
the U.S. And you've been working on this. It's your life's work. And I've seen you posting a lot on Instagram where you're in Florida. So
mm-hmm.
had you, did you add that as part of the American Perimeter Trail, or what was your business down in Florida? Why are you walking the length of Florida, all those swamps?
Yeah, it is a lot of swamps. You're right. Uh, and so my work down there, I always kind of have this interesting approach where I like to make observations, but I like to do them in person.
Mhm.
I prefer to have the experience that I'm uh, suggesting other people have.
Sure.
So, I'm not one who sells things that I don't use. I don't really sell anything, but I also, don't like, I'm not trying to sell people on something that I wouldn't do. And so while I was in Florida, I made a series of conservation reports. And this is essentially picking out the route for the American Perimeter Trail. And we will be using, shared footbed or swamp bed with the Florida Trail as well. So to answer your question, like my business there was to collect as much information because job number one for me, and it has always been, is like as a conservationist, and then I do this backpacking thing because I believe that the two of them work very nicely in tandem with each other. And I didn't come up with that idea. There's others, you know, that have this approach to conservation.
Sure.
And so I'm very happy with the information that I was able to obtain while I was there. And yes, uh, the the American Perimeter Trail goes through Florida, the entirety of Florida now.
Now,
So
while you were down there, did you have any interesting alligator experiences?
Yeah, that's kind of what I want. That or pythons. Did you have any python
Oh,
run-ins?
yes, apparently they're invading Florida.
Yeah, Black Panthers. I mean,
I I mean I don't see how it would have been possible to do certain parts of the Florida Trail or sections that I did as well without that. You
that's
know,
awesome.
so I mean the easy answer is absolutely. Yeah, the alligators, like I didn't have anything. Um, it's not that I wasn't scared at times, and especially at night in water. What? Because that's the time when alligators are most active, and that's when they feed.
Mhm.
So, and you can easily see them above water. You have no idea if they're beside you if they're underwater, but their eyes are reflective like most wildlife. So your headlamp, you can see them if they're on the surface, but if they're not, you have no idea. It's not like a guessing game. Um, and I there are pythons. They are not native to that area. They do have an open season on them,
Yeah,
and I didn't kill any. Um, I didn't kill any pythons. Uh, the thing, I guess, like the alligators were definitely unnerving, and I'm not trying to be cavalier about this. I don't think anyone's super comfortable with like going through swamps with like waist deep water and seeing alligators around you, and
Oh,
there's nowhere to go. Like
right, right.
it's not like there's dry land right there and you just hustle to it. It's not like running to the shore from a shark. There's no
Yeah,
shore. Like you're kind of in their territory. Um, I think, I mean, hundreds of alligators, maybe 1,000. I have no idea. Lots. Uh, and then I guess the other thing that I ran into a lot was water moccasins. And so
Oh,
I had the most close calls with the cottonmouths rather than the alligators, and
wow.
there were a couple of times where it was very close. I was walking on top of a levee with two canals on either side, and it was like getting dark, and I just kept on hitting like water moccasin after water moccasin on the trail. Like every quarter mile, there's a water moccasin, and I was like, what is going on here? And I normally wouldn't have my headlamp on hiking. I don't use it a lot of times at night, not because I'm tough or I think that's the way you should do it. It's just I often will forget. Like I'll have it on my head and forget that it's not on. Um, I see pretty well, and so maybe that's part of it. But I had to definitely put my headlamp on because I would have been stepping on them. I could see the trail fine, I just couldn't see them. And so you would be proud of me, Jeremiah, because I did this even without a beard. So there's hope for you. But
Nicely done.
That's
but
fantastic. That's fantastic.
okay, but I'm not saying like okay. I was like stroking my like soul patch a little
Yeah.
bit. So maybe you need to try that, Jeremiah. Just a
Yeah.
suggestion. Yeah. You know, if your lady loves you, because it's not easy. Like I know it's not easy to love people with soul patches. Like it's not. It's really
Put that
not.
on a mug. Yeah.
It's really, it's difficult. It makes it difficult on everyone. It's not fair to your family or to your children, right? But it's like you do have to express yourself in life. So people forgive you. Anyways, if she loves you that much, she'll deal with a soul patch at least for a couple years.
So you can see your jawline with a soul patch.
Yeah, you
Really?
can see your
Yeah.
jawline. Yeah, Jeremiah has such a nice, yeah, you know, you got a pretty jaw, Jeremiah. So,
Okay. So Rue, I gotta tell you
okay,
about a
yeah.
conversation that Jeremiah and I had about you before you got on. We were like, is it just us, or does it look like every time Rue takes a picture, he looks like he's trying to seduce you? Like we got like it's it. I told him, I said, I kind of think you're the Zoolander of backpackers because you've got this like really good like model face that you make when you're taking your pictures. It's really impressive.
Man, I don't know how you do it. I wish I could look like
I
that.
know I can't pull it off. Like you pull it off every time. Every time you take a picture, I'm like, it looks like he knew the camera was coming and was ready, and you were shooting at everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So sometimes I'm instructed, so I just take instructions. So there is that. Like this one photographer told me once, he was like, "Look at me like you want to attack me." And I was like, okay. And I gave him, you know, like the laser eyes. And he was like, whoa, 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 like tone it back. I was like, that's what you asked for, man.
Too
He was
much.
almost like, he was like scared. And I remember one being like, you look like you're angry. I'm like, I'm smiling. They're like, you look angry. And, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm not trying to seduce you guys.
But dude,
I
your
don't know if I should
Instagram
be. Yeah, I don't know if I should be flattered right now or concerned.
Totally flattered.
maybe both.
Okay.
Your Instagram
Maybe
game.
both.
I
Well, hey,
remember
we've got a
whenever-
ton of comments, guys. We got a ton of
Okay, go
comments.
ahead.
We
Go
gotta make
ahead,
sure we
John.
get some of these in here, but they started early. First one was just for Jeremiah. Awesome video today, Jeremiah. Grayson Highlands looked
Aw.
beautiful.
Thank you, Hogan Outdoors.
Pizza Ninja got the poop talk started early. Rue has some awesome poop stories. Then Doc Watson says he puts Forrest Gump to shame with the miles he walks. Which,
Yes.
I mean, you think about it. I think you've walked more miles than Forrest Gump. Jeff Peters says Rue is the greatest guest of this podcast. Nobody better.
That's high praise from Jeff
How
Peters.
about that one right there? Then let's see. Oh, we got Jeff Peters again. He said, "Will the next APT shelter be called Applebag?"
Oh
And-
no! Oh,
Well, there's
did
another
I
one
tell
after
you
that.
guys that?
And then Martin Welch said, "I'm voting for Fair Winds Hostel."
Oh,
I-
yes.
I like.
That'd be good. And then Tangent Trails got on here and just said, "Hey, if you're not already a member of the American Perimeter Trail, please consider joining. The APT is where it's happening." And then, and then Doc Watson said,
Great.
pythons and alligators would make a poop story for me.
Oh,
And the final comment is now there's no chance Outdoor Beards is sponsoring Rue. So
hey, I do have my Outdoor Beards shirt on today. Look at that. Shout out Outdoor Beards.
Yeah.
Looks great. Yeah.
Now Rue, you probably more than anyone know about like hiking rules and trail rules and things like that from all over the place because you've hiked in a lot of places. Well, we're going to do a little segment tonight. We've not really done one of these with you before. So we're going to do a little segment. And I actually have dedicated this segment to all my friends from Wisconsin. My friends like Miyagi and Trips on the Trail and Dan Becker and those guys because they're good friends. And so we simply have called this segment, Hey There Guy, What Do You Think? Basically what we're going to do right now. I'm going to give you some interesting hiking facts. I actually found these from the website thetravel.com. This was an article called Weirdest Hiking Trail Rules. And I just want to get your opinion on these rules that I found online, if you're down for that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the first one is simply titled No Stupid Hikers. Okay?
That's not true.
A lot of stupid hikers.
So this is what it reads. It says in Phoenix, Arizona, a councilwoman wanted to push for a law which would ban stupid hikers. This would entail any hiker who requested emergency help due to their own negligence and would be charged a fine. The idea was that people who failed to be responsible when hiking would get a charged fee for being rescued and was supposed to be a way to encourage people to be more responsible when hiking. And the example that they used of a stupid hiker was someone who did not bring water and then dehydrated. While it's certainly not a wise idea to forego water in the burning inferno that is Phoenix, the law was criticized for fear it would result in less people calling in for emergency out of fear of getting charged. So, what is your thoughts, or what are your thoughts on stupid hiker laws?
As
okay.
A backpacker.
All right. So we know what changes human behavior. It's been done through gas taxes. It's been done through cigarette taxes. The wallet is what changes people's behavior. Like it's been shown in study after study. So they're on to something there. But I think like even more so than the money is the public shaming. Like I don't even know that it's like, I'm not even sure that people are going to care as much about the money, just like if they put their name in the newspaper or something. But geez, I don't know. I don't know what's the best way to address this. I would say that I do have friends that call me the revocator because I just like to do it for fun. Like look at their shoes or something and be like revocation. You know, or they'll be like, you know, it's such a beautiful day out today. And I'm like, you're revoked. Revocation. No more weather comments for 20 days. So I mean, I don't think I'm going to do that with strangers, but it's kind of fun to think of someone doing that, like revocation, stupid hiker.
Could you imagine getting on social media like the next week and somebody found the article and then posted it for the whole world to see? And you see your name pop up because you did something dumb out on trail?
Oh, I mean, I have mine coming because I have a film crew that follows me from time to time. So you know, oh geez.
Think they might shine some light on some stupidity?
Oh, so you know, I typically use map and compasses because I make my own routes, and that's just how I started doing that years ago when I hiked the Triple Crown before, like when that was the best, you know, like that's what you had to use. So, so I don't like pride myself on being Mr. Navigating Man, but obviously like I know how to do that. And I'm with the film crew. You know, this is the first day working with these folks. I don't know them. They've invested a lot to come out into the backcountry with me. They've traveled a long way to get there. And I can't even find my way onto the route because a fire came through the week before,
Oh no.
and there's just trees down everywhere. And I'm just like, oh no, I don't even know how we're gonna get through this, and I'm feeling bad because they have equipment. And then, oh no, this is really bad. So I might as well just tell myself now because it's gonna come out. So um, I we walked for like an hour or so, and I have been on this trail. Uh, what was left of the trail, I've been on before, like several times. Like I know it, and I took us in a big circle. Like we ended up back where we started, and now had to hike through a good part of the night.
Did you tell him this
We
was just a
got
loop trail that you were testing out for the trail to see if it's something you wanted to
I,
add to it?
oh man, I was thinking about how to lie my way out of it, and I, they caught the whole thing on tape, like, and I'm just there, like, going like, oh, like I don't know how this happened. We had to meet someone with batteries that night at camp. We rolled in like after midnight.
I was
That's
hoping you were gonna say
great.
you got them boys lost out there. That is,
uh,
dude.
And so, I mean, just imagine you've like made this investment, you've come all this way to be with this guy, and this is how he's showing up, like right away.
Oh, that's great.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I'm glad I just told on myself there. So now you know it happens, but sometimes it happens on camera.
It does.
Ghost
Okay, so
hunting.
next rule, next law. Are you ready for this one? This one's
Yeah.
all the way from Norway, believe it or not.
Oh,
Oh,
one of my
And
favorite
and
places.
this is
internet.
entitled Norway Roaming. And basically in Norway, you are basically able to roam around anywhere you like. The only rules are remaining some distance when residing near someone's inhabitants, being being respectful towards nature, and maintaining some reasonable campfire rules. There's something warming and peaceful about being able to go around anywhere you would within a country. You can even forage freely for foliage and fish. So basically it's like no man's land. It's just like just go, have fun, go do your thing. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh. Okay. So, I mean, there's still squatter rights in Holland.
Yeah.
Like in Holland, I can go to a farm and just give the farmer a notice and say, um, I'm going to live on this piece of your land, and I'm going to make some improvements over there. And they say, yeah, okay, that's the law. So, I mean, it's kind of culturally informed. And
Wow.
like the farmer doesn't have a recourse, and they're not, it's just, that's how it is. So, and culturally, that mixes with their ideas, their values. And so it's very difficult for, like, because if I feel like that's appropriate for Norway. I feel like that fits in with their culture. It's difficult because, like, I'm an American, so then it's like, am I suggesting that's how it is in America? I walk through Texas, and I don't know if that's a good idea, folks, if you want to do that. I mean, the people in Texas were great, but it's privately owned. And so was very respectful there because I think there's consequences of that. But wow, that's a tough one. In America, I don't think that flies. I don't think it does. But with that being said, like, coming from a perspective of making the American Perimeter Trail or hiking it, it sure would have been nice, like, times out there just to know, like, oh, I'm safe, I'm okay here, I'm not going to get woke up in the middle of the night by like the Herden brothers driving around their pickup truck shooting stuff, you know. I mean, I'm glad I can laugh about that now. But like, it's yeah, I mean, it's just like it's culturally different. So whenever we go to make the Norway Perimeter Trail, it looks like there's not going to be a lot of obstacles there.
You
So
just start hiking. You're good to go, man. You can just zigzag through the whole country. You don't even have to
just
like go around the perimeter. You call it
yeah,
the
I mean,
Norway Zigzag Trail.
The Norway Zigzag Trail. Oh
It's ready to
my.
go.
Yeah.
They do
Yeah.
stuff so unique in Europe. I can't wait to head over there this summer. But I was watching the show on Netflix. It's called Inside the World's Toughest Prisons. Have y'all ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Well, basically, there's a film crew and a dude that he was in jail for like 12 years, proved his own innocence. He was in prison, not jail. And then he's been released, and now a documentary crew or whatever follows him around. They make a TV show. And he stays inside of prisons in different parts of the world for like a week or a week and a half or whatever. And they film him the whole time, and he's got bunk mates and everything. So they've done several prisons in the US, but they've been all around the world. And like the prisons around like Norway, Sweden, Finland, like it's so unique. It's nothing like the prisons here. It's like some of them are like nicer than hotels that I stay at. You know, you still don't have your freedom, but I guess what you're saying about the culture, it really depends on the culture and how they live just every day in their normal lives. That's how they base their rules. It's a different perspective of looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just, I come up against these questions and I speak with leaders in the conservation community. I was lucky enough to meet with Jim Kern, the founder and creator of the Florida Trail, while I was in Florida.
Oh, wow.
He was very gracious to have a meeting with me, and he gave me a copy of his book, and I asked him to sign it for me. And but besides that, we had a really interesting conversation, and so I get to meet with all these different people. It's really important for the work that I do to try to get perspective, because there is a way of doing things, and there is a way of doing things in a meaningful way that takes into account the community in which it serves.
Yeah. Well, here's a community for you. I got a community for you to talk about.
Here we go. He's like, let's get this piece done here.
Let's get this next one going, because this is great. This is great. I gotta hear what you think about this one. This one was simply titled "Don't Give Booze to a Moose." While it's important, while hiking in Alaska, you might spot a moose, and then you might have an uncontrollable urge to crack a cold one with said moose. But unfortunately for you, it is illegal to do so. Giving a moose any sort of alcohol is illegal within the state of Alaska and is considered an offense. Likely this is because you are endangering this animal by doing so. It seems like someone did not figure that out because the state had to make a specific law for it. Additionally, like bears, moose are very dangerous creatures and likely more so when wasted. So what are your thoughts on not giving booze to moose?
Oh, there's probably certain people that shouldn't have booze. But if you're a moose, it's cold. Life's hard.
Preach!
You have to put a. It's like there has to be some kind of there has to be like something mutually beneficial there. Okay, so humans come in, they make trailheads around your habitat, they like encroach on your habitat, they drain wetlands where you get all your food from. You're trying to swim in a lake, eat a bunch of algae. There's like yahoos from wherever, like in their canoes and throwing fishing lines over you and stuff. So I say, let them have beer. Yeah.
Drink.
I mean, it's the least you can do, really.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Not all the time, but like we could have like Moose Milwaukee Mondays.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or a Thirsty Thursday.
I like that.
Yeah, but it has to be like don't give moose the beer. Just let it out for them. They know what to do.
Yeah, and get them something nice. Nobody wants a PBT or a PBR. Nobody wants a PBR. Like get them something nice. They've been out.
No, that's why they're angry all the time.
Yeah,
they're stressed out.
That's why it says in there that they're like mean and angry like bears, but that's part of it. I mean, do you see the crap bears have to eat?
Yeah.
Cocaine. I hear cocaine. Is that true? Bears eat cocaine?
That is true. Okay, I don't
they
know.
Run 100 yards and die.
Oh my! I read a story about that years ago. I found out yesterday that there's a movie,
Yeah.
but I think the movie I think might be fictional. I'm
The
not
movie's
certain.
very fictional because literally the bear
Okay.
like ate an entire bag of cocaine,
Like a
like
kilo.
spiked out, and then took off running about 100 yards down a trail and just keeled over dead from a massive heart attack.
Yeah,
Like
that really did
that
happen.
was the whole story. So they
Oh,
kind of turned it
okay.
into this thing, got massively high, and started going on a rager all over town.
Oh
And so,
no!
like,
Oh
yeah, so
no!
that's
Oh, come on,
I
Hollywood.
hear it's good though. People say that you're supposed to go watch it in a group, and it's a pretty good movie.
Well, let me ask you if you guys have heard this before. Somebody just posted a comment, and I want to get your all's opinion on it. This is Sean R, and he says moose get drunk off fermented apples. Have you heard this before?
I have. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and like when they have a grizzly issue in Montana, in the small towns, they'll often have like a sow come in with cubs and stuff. They're usually hanging out at the apple tree.
Really? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like they've had to remove apple trees from communities just because the grizzlies come in and eat the fermented apples. And there's natural yeast that exists in the apples.
Right.
So if you have sugar and you have yeast in the same place, like you do with a rotting apple, you also have alcohol.
You have hard cider.
You have
So
hard cider.
you have hard
Yeah.
cider.
It said,
Unlikely hiker. She would know. This is someone who would know about moose. She said the moose are angry because hikers are only sharing PBR. So that's just proof. I was right about that. I was right.
That's
about
right.
That.
Yeah.
So,
I googled it, John.
Yes.
It said recently there have been several reports. This is from 2017, though, from islandpress.org. There's been several reports of moose that apparently became drunk after eating too many fermented crab apples in Alaska and piles of fermenting apples in Sweden. So this is not just
a worldwide epidemic.
Worldwide epidemic of drunk moose.
So we need to start AA for moose.
It's a real problem.
It's a real problem. Guys, we need to like look out for them. I mean, this is a real issue. So I think I found my calling in life. I'm going to help moose like get the monkey off their back, you know? That's gonna be my goal.
Maybe the law's correct.
Yeah. Wouldn't their livers be massive? Wouldn't you think that a moose would just have a massive liver so it could drink a lot of beer before intoxicating effects?
That's anthropomorphizing moose. They're not human beings. They don't feel like us, and they don't even get like buzzy happy, apparently. They just go straight to rage.
They're angry drunks.
Yeah.
Nobody likes an angry drunk. Okay, so last one. Let's get to this last one because this one actually is one where like some people might get hyped up about this one. And it's entitled Don't Kick Cairns. And if you're listening online, it's not Karens, okay? It's Cairns. We're not talking about kicking women who complain a lot. We're talking about these piles of rocks that people make on trails. So the article said, Cairns are palm-sized rocks stacked atop each other. They are commonly found on hiking trails, but is not unusual for hikers to have no idea what they do. Like the child who always knocked over your block tower as a kid, some hikers find satisfaction in knocking these stacked stones over. While it may seem like a harmless thing to do, these stones are more than just aesthetic. They are actually used to mark trails and keep people on the right path. When people knock these over, they're risking the chance of getting people lost, so try to be mindful of them in the future. I know some people that hate rock cairns, and they knock them over on purpose.
Yeah, because I mean, so the flip side of that is you will go to certain areas where there's cairns going everywhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And someone came up there and was like, oh, this leads back to this specific spot I want to go to. It doesn't mark the trail. It marks like this drainage campsite that I went. Yeah, a campsite or something. So why do people hate cairns?
I don't know. But I mean, I know we've done shows on here, and I've seen comments of people saying, I hate rock cairns, and I knock them over every time I see them. And So like some people just really have a thing against Rock Cairns. So
And if you look at the Facebook groups, like the hiking Facebook groups, Cairns is a hot topic. I think the most common thing, I mean, it is hot, dude. And you know how arguments are on Facebook.
oh yeah.
So,
They're way worse on Facebook than real life.
yeah, and I think that what people's deal is like the disturbing of the habitat. I think most people are thinking, I'm in the Smoky Mountains and my kids are playing in the creek and they build a cairn. Or like, we're hiking out on trail and that disturbs the natural habitat. I think most people aren't thinking that I'm in the Colorado Rockies, I'm above the timberline and there's literally no trees and there's no posts to mark the trail. So they build cairns. I think that that's more where the hate comes in, is the destroying some natural habitats. I don't know. What do you think, Rue?
Yeah, okay, so I'm a Leave No Trace trainer,
Mhm.
certified. So my professional opinion is don't make cairns. Just don't do it. Yeah, I don't know if you have to knock them over. Uh, I've definitely done volunteer work where you're dismantling fire pits all the time, on the Appalachian Trail. They're full of garbage. And, the idea is to try to keep it as wild. And, it's like Theodore Roosevelt looking out across the Grand Canyon for the first time. And he says, leave it alone. No need to touch it. Uh, it'll only be marred by the mark of man. Of course, then they built the national parks and parking lots over all that, what he was talking about, but that's
Yeah.
another story. Um, but so I don't know. I guess that's the safe bet. I don't think I've got bigger fish to fry, I guess. That Oh, geez. I don't know, guys. Leave it the way you found it, I guess, and just try to have fun. And I'm going through this process now where I'm trying to take myself less serious because I've been taking myself pretty serious for a while now, and it feels good to just kind of relax and do what part I can in the world. And
Yeah.
and so I don't know. There's going to be moose drinking beer sometimes. Sometimes there won't be. There's going to be cairns if you take them apart and you reestablish the aesthetic. Good on you.
Yeah. Well, I do know
So
when I hiked Mount Kilimanjaro, they had to have the cairns. The cairns were the markers.
sure.
Going up Kilimanjaro, and I think is it the? I gotta make sure I get this right. Is it the what's the high the Uinta Trail, the Uinta Highline Trail? Isn't that marked by cairns in a lot of the open
Mm,
areas?
mm-hmm,
I think
mm-hmm,
there's some trails where they
mm-hmm.
didn't want to paint things and they didn't want to leave markings, so they did the rock cairns instead. Um,
Yeah,
for some of those.
yeah. I mean, it's it's kind of some of it's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
um, um, and so what looks like maybe an ugly cairn to one person looks like something kind of neat on the treadway, and what looks like a stupid cairn now, 300 years from now, might be a historical marker.
yeah.
I
Right,
don't know.
right.
I don't know. So,
Speaking of historic markers, I was on your Instagram, kind of stalking you today, just kind of looking for some things to talk about tonight. And I ran across a post of yours. I can't believe I haven't seen it before. You have been wearing New Balance 410s for 20
Mhm.
plus years. Like most backpackers, like I'm wearing the Ultra Lone Peak 4.9732s, and I've got the Hoka Ones, and I've got, everybody's got these like $200 trail runners, and you're going, yeah, mine costs like 35, $40. And
Yeah.
so talk about that a little. That I think it's really encouraging for some people. There's probably people on here going, I want to know what Rue hikes in because he's a
Yeah.
professional through hiker. And then it's all of a sudden like, yeah, I wear the ones that you buy at Kohl's, so like
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, I have been blessed to be able to use what I want to, and that's what I choose to wear. And honestly, there the last like 4 years or so, a lot of my gear is provided for me, and I like some of it I don't. I kind of have an opinion for some of you coming in. Just try to have some fun, learn what you can, but experience is vital. And so don't, you know, I don't think you, I don't think it's helpful for your time in researching what you should be wearing should be longer than the time you actually spend outdoors wearing it. Because I think you might be like, I think the balance isn't going to work for you there. And I think you'll get a little bit too concerned about things that aren't really going to matter in the field as much as like sexy or cool, or they look cool. So I think like my advice would be, again, like don't take yourself too serious. Um, and there is a variety of products that will work out there for you. Um, like in other sports, like let's say bowling, okay? Um, if you're starting to bowl, you've never really bowled before, maybe you've gone on a couple of like church bowling things when you're growing up, but you're like, have this motivation to really get into bowling, don't go buy the $1,000 ball.
Right.
You know, buy a starter ball and let your experience inform what you actually want. So when you get to a point that you want to invest a little bit more, you get what you want instead of like just having to, return stuff because it wasn't like it was expensive. So it should have been perfect for me. And then I actually didn't like it as I used it more and looked at what other people were doing. So yeah, the New Balance, same New Balance. I don't have um, any interest in really changing those out. And that's for me, that's for backpacking and like most of my hiking. Now I might wear something different for running, or for other sports. But as far as that, I've been wearing the same pair of shoes. I have worn other shoes, but I haven't found really a reason. It's just one of those things. If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually used to make all of my own gear. So, I would go on a 3,000-mile hike or something, and I would have made my clothes and my hats and my tent and my backpack and my sleeping bags and my quilts and my stove and just like, I didn't make my shoes, but I made most of everything else. Like I made everything by hand. So
Mm.
I come from that background of doing that. Like, that's how I outfitted some of my long hikes 20 years ago. And then I haven't done much of that the last couple years because I'm never really in the front country long enough to like take on doing those kinds of projects. And also like I get my stuff provided for me too. So I do a lot of gear modification. I rarely ever get something without having to modify it in some way. And that's not saying it sucks. That's just like I
Just
know what I like
personalizing
and
it.
what's going to work for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just personalizing it. And so I just wouldn't get too hung up. I was with someone at a store once and they wanted to buy a sleeping bag and I wasn't really there to give input. It seemed like they knew what they wanted, but they were just getting started into backpacking and they were looking at something and I was like, hey, look at this one. This looks great. And you know, uh, like tricks of the trade, like ask them if you can have this one because it's on the floor and ask them
Mhm.
for 40% off. Like, whoa, this is going to be a steal. So
Yeah.
they worked that out, but then it was so cheap that they didn't want to buy it because they were like, I'm of the opinion that if it's more expensive, it's better.
Mm.
Yeah.
And they're like, I just can't fight it. They're like, I was raised this way. And I wasn't raised that way.
I wasn't either.
You
Yeah.
know, there's people there's people that go to dinner parties and brag about how much something they bought cost, like how much they spent on a brand new car or a trip they're taking. And it's like important to like for status purposes and those kind of social settings to like say, look at, I got the best of this or what have you. And then there's like people who go to potlucks who like brag about that they got a real steal at Walmart or something like that, so it's just a different like way of looking at things. And
I
I've
just
never really been around rich backpackers.
Yeah.
So a lot of us have to like be careful with our money
Well,
for
I just
doing
found it
long
encouraging.
trips.
I just found it encouraging because here you are. You're this guy who just hiked 14,000 miles and you did it on a pair of shoes you don't hear anybody talking about. It's just a fairly inexpensive pair of shoes. I just found that encouraging for people that are getting started. It's just kind of a nice like, hey, breathe in. You're good. You don't
Hmm.
have to spend $185 on a pair of shoes. Here's a $40 pair of shoes that a guy who just hiked 14,000 miles uses. So be encouraged. You don't have to spend crazy money to go back. Like, it's something I try to encourage people. You don't have to spend crazy amounts of money to go backpacking.
Yeah, and I don't get paid or sponsored for any of that stuff. I'm just telling you, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's the right thing. If it's that cheap, shoes don't last that long anyways. So try them for a round, and then if you don't like them, try something else the next time. I appreciate what you say because I forget like what it was like when I first started backpacking.
Yeah.
And so I often think that like my opinions or views on things really aren't very valuable. Like, so what? You can use whatever. Like, who am I to say one way or the other? But then I forget like uh, what it's like to just not like to just trying to get like a base of understanding
Yeah.
and work your way through that. And so and then I always get encouraged to like talk more about gear and like my experience with it, which I rarely ever do. Um, but because I'm like doing this conservation piece, like that's what I'm
Right.
working on.
Right. Right.
But I appreciate that because maybe it'll encourage me to talk about that, and like if that's going to help some people out, I'd love to be a part of that.
Yeah, I think it's
So
encouraging because, like I said, some people just get so overwhelmed with the financial investment in getting into backpacking because you do have
yeah,
to buy gear, and so
yeah,
knowing you don't have to spend, I mean, you're spending like a quarter of what a lot of people spend on a pair of shoes,
Yeah, I just bought a pair.
literally.
yeah,
They're
So
yeah,
$155 for trail runners.
yeah. And so add that up. If you want to start doing some serious distance, that's
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of dollars.
yeah,
Yeah.
Because I mean the APT alone, not even since then, not like, I'm probably into 1,500 miles since I finished the APT, just since October already. Um,
That's like 3 or 4 pairs of shoes.
yeah, it's a lot of pair of shoes, and so I mean the APT, I don't know, 20 or 30 pairs, so
yeah.
thousands of
I mean,
dollars,
you're looking at
and
5 just for the Appalachian Trail because usually 350 to 400 miles is what they
yeah,
say most trail runners are good for.
that's a good idea. I mean, and if yeah, I'd rather have new foot gear than making expensive foot gear go longer. I think that's
Yeah.
true.
Taking
I
care of
think
your
it's
feet's
true.
kind of important. It's kind
Yeah,
of
I think
important
it's
when you're hiking.
I think it's all right.
You wanna
And
talk
there's
about
like,
what do you say, Rue?
oh, I'm sorry.
I see my goldfish drowned. We're getting toward the end of the episode, and it appears that some people are chomping at the bit for some poop. So I'm
Literally, here's
thinking,
here's the post for you. It just literally says pooping.
I don't know if they're actually pooping right now while watching this,
And he says he's
or
got toilet paper, so
okay, good.
it's kind of
There's
terrifying.
That's not the only poop comment, and I don't want us to run out of time before we get the chance to ask you about pooping underwater in the swamp. They call it sweaty
Yeah.
frogs. I'm not sure
Oh,
how that works.
Like
oh.
Not sure
sweaty,
how.
humidity driven
Yeah,
stories.
and
Yeah.
you said you're advocate for legal
Ah,
race, so I'm not sure how those rules work and all that. So I figured we'd get into it here at the end of the show.
okay. I should have known better.
Woo, buddy.
So,
Yeah.
so there, so when you're crossing swamps, you typically can expect to maybe a mile an hour. I don't know. Maybe that's a maybe because it's a
Wow.
lot of effort to push through the water.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's not an option just to be like, oh, there's a piece of dry land there. I'm going to take a break. Like if you take breaks, you have to do them standing up. Because so like you're from morning to night, if it's a long stretch, you're going to be eating lunch standing. You won't have sat down the entire day. You'll just be in water because
Wow.
there's no place to sit down in. So
Yeah, I seen a
so
guy
if
taking chance hiker. He was taking a break, and he literally was having to sit like up to his chest in water just because he wanted to sit down. There's like nowhere to go.
yeah, that's it. So, I mean, I think okay, I'll try to watch my mouth here. I guess the good news is if you crap your pants, the cleanup isn't as bad. I mean, like,
That's
it's not
tough,
like
man.
it's
Walk
not
through a
really
swamp.
like it's not really all down. It's kind of self-cleaning. I mean, if you think about it, with the alligator grass in there all around you, it's kind of like, I mean, when you go through an automatic car wash.
Yeah.
So the best option at that point really is to just lose the pants, protect your vitals down there, however you choose, and just walk through and let the swamp it's the same thing as a drive-through, like
Like
car
car
wash,
wash?
really.
Let the
Yeah,
swamp cleanse you and clean you.
yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds
Just
kind of
wash it.
freeing, actually. It kind of sounds very
Oh, it's
freeing.
nasty. Swamps are so
No,
nasty, man. Stinky,
no,
snack.
Jeremiah,
It's
I'm sorry, I
nature,
can't
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah.
It's
beauty.
Jeremiah. It's nature. It's nature, man.
Natural.
I did okay. I did have a okay. I wasn't going to tell you guys this, but here it goes.
Uh-oh.
I
No.
did. So besides just letting the swamp like cleanse, there's all kinds of cleansing rituals through all kinds of spiritual and religious traditions. So
Sure.
just let the swamp come in and then just cleanse your spirit. But oh God. Okay. I it was hot. Okay, I was in Florida. I had to get water from this one spot. I didn't realize it. I've been in water all day, and I had to pee really bad. So I peed, and as soon as I was done peeing, I realized that's where I had to get
There's
my
more to
water.
this.
Yeah, it's where And I was
Oh,
just like, I was like, I can't believe you. I seriously cannot believe you just did that. Like,
well, urine's
I
pretty
was
sterile.
kind of at a loss. I know, but it's like one of those. I, anyways, so I managed it. Like I was going to drink water, one way or the other, but it's not the worst thing ever. But it's not best practice, so I've been told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's always been
Well, there was a
mm.
question on here. Let me see if I can find it. Basically, they were
Well,
asking, is that leave no trace?
what the swamp cleaning you?
The swamp cleaning. The
There
swamp
it is.
cleaning
There's
you
right there.
is,
But does that leave no trace?
yeah. Well, the important.
You're not going to get any
it,
judgment from us. Don't worry.
okay, it depends on where you are.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
agree with
it
that.
does. And so, like, there's actually places, like, for instance, along the Colorado, if there's only a small bank to put two tents and people are using that camp every night, they tell you to piss in the river.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah, dilute, not pollute,
Yeah.
is like the saying. So, like, they'll tell you just to pee right in the river because it'll dilute itself. But if you pee on that little bank where everyone camps there every single night, that's a lot of it just
Yeah.
becomes a piss island,
It
you
smells
know?
horrible. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there's
So
some other comments here for you about your story. No bidets needed in the swamp. Um,
yeah. Yeah.
that your situation is better than the poop hammock. And the final one is poop works good as a good alligator repellent. So
oh,
Attract 'em.
little
You
known
think
fact.
yeah, there you go. There you go. We're just
Little
busting out with
known
all kinds
fact.
of knowledge today, aren't we?
This is kind of all you needed to know.
That's it. That's it.
Some cheap sneakers. Um,
yeah, poop on your
take your don't let just poop.
Yeah, pee in rivers. If anybody wants to start
Yeah.
backpacking, I'm going to say just listen to this episode. This is going to teach you everything you need to know about backpacking. You'll be ready to hit the trail.
This is gonna be the
Everybody
one
will look
episode
up.
Rue never tells anybody about. He's gonna be like, "No, I actually wasn't on this
Well,
time. That was just a big joke. It didn't happen."
yeah.
No, in all
Oh,
seriousness
and
though,
you,
Rue, why don't you tell
yeah.
people where to find you? Like how to find out more about the American Perimeter Trail and follow your adventures, all that kind of stuff. Can you just kind of share that information with people here as we start to
Oh,
wind this down?
yeah, I have. Oh, there's so many great things coming up that I want to talk to you guys about, but I just am not a position to do it right now. Um, but I do want to let you know that I am releasing the route, and you're going to see it on your hiking apps.
Nice.
I did create the GPX file with a cartographer and a geographer, so so we're really excited about that.
Are you excited
Um,
for your first through hiker that's not you?
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
What's your timeline?
Absolutely. I don't know what her name is, but yes, I'm excited. So
What's your
uh
timeline for making that GPX data public? Is it going to be in
uh
a year?
I I will let you guys know. I just
That's fair.
I'm not
That's
gonna
fair.
oh, this did you ask this year? Yes, this
Yeah,
year.
you think it'll be in the
Okay.
next year or so?
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely. Soon.
That's
Soon. So
awesome.
that's exciting. And other than that, like there's a lot of work to be done. I will be doing some more scouting here. The route is just awesome. I think it brings so many different trails together. It brings so many new opportunities, like what I did in Florida with coming up with a new route. Um, and but in the meantime, oh, and there's some like interesting stuff coming where you're going to see us out in some different places and some different media here in the spring. So that's coming. You'll know about it. We'll let you know. Uh, and other than that, if you want to be part of the community and it's important for you to create this conservation corridor, you can join us at AmericanPerimeterTrail.org. And there you can become a member, and we've tried to set that up for you that you don't have to pay all at once if you don't want to. Also, we created a social media piece for that. So you can actually go on there. We just released this last week. So you can actually go on there and make a profile just like you would on your favorite social media, and then you all can talk to each other. You can friend people, you can do whatever. It's just within the community. And so, really excited about that. So, find us there. My social media that you guys look at, just keep in mind, it looks like the American Perimeter Trail, but it actually is just my personal. So like there's stuff that's on there that I wouldn't put on something more official. And so if you want to look at the American Perimeter Trail social media, that's on Instagram. We're on TikTok. Um, we're on Facebook at American Perimeter Trail. The website's got a new map coming up, and when we release the GPX information, you will have the full interactive map on the website as well.
That's
So,
awesome.
you know,
That's awesome.
everyone has put a lot of time into this. We're just only getting started. You know, it's one of those situations really it's really going to take a village.
Mhm.
And I just thank everyone for everything they've contributed and all the work people have put into this so far. And it's definitely a milestone for us. This is a really exciting time for us, and I hope you take the ride.
That's great. That's great. I can't wait to hear like I'm looking forward to when the GPX gets out and you start hearing about all the people starting to make their plans to do it
Yeah,
and see who the folks
yeah,
are that really take because I mean you've got to take this one on. It's a
Mm.
major commitment. So it's going to be
yeah.
interesting to see the people that go after it.
I get asked about it all the time, but then it's just I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a serious deal. I mean,
Yeah.
you should take your time to kind of consider something like this, because it's. I mean, for me, after over 20 years of backpacking and being to, you know, just being lucky to be to have the opportunity to backpack in so many places, the APT for me was really next level. It wasn't like anything I'd ever experienced ever, and always like exceedingly beautiful, exceedingly difficult, exceedingly easy. It was just, it's really a kind of the whole package. And we have a member who told me the other day, he said, well, he said, you're the fastest person to ever do it.
You
You're
got the
also
FKT.
you're also the slowest person to ever do it. You're the
Nice.
yeah, you're the first person to do it, and you're the last person to do it. And he just started checking off all of these things. So I mean, it'll be amazing to see if people are interested in, and just know that that wasn't necessarily like um, hasn't been my whole thought process, because I
Yeah.
really want this to be for people in their states and in their communities to enjoy. But with any long trail, you're going to have folks that want to experience it in another way. And best of luck to everyone. And
Well,
just
I'm
you
looking
know,
forward to finding sections of it and just everyone being able to hit parts of it. I don't know that I'll ever in my lifetime be able to do all the miles of it, but to be able to like go out somewhere and say, you know what, I'm going to hike like 40, 50 miles of it, and just be able to say, yeah, I got to hike part of the American Perimeter Trail. That's exciting. I just think it's exciting to be able to do stuff like that.
there will be millions of people on this trail every year,
Yeah.
uh, just like any of the Triple Crown trails. The Appalachian Trail, there's millions of people on that every year. And then there's a couple, there's 1,000 or 2,000 people that through hike it. So, like, um, I'll be really impressed. My hat's off to you, if you decide to do this. But my heart was always in the millions, you
Mm-hmm.
know, people who want to be connected and have and relate to their areas, their wildland areas in that way, and maybe just don't have access to it now, or there's not a trail in place, or the land simply is, you can't just go up and pass through it like you can in Norway.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so uh, these are the people that I've thought about. And if there's some crazy people out there that want to go for a real journey, have at it. We'll all be watching. So, but it's always from a heart space for me, and I feel very blessed to. I almost feel like I got chosen,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
That's
and I
awesome.
and I don't really know how to explain it more than that, but
Yeah.
yeah, it feels like I got lucky. Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
So
I think about like, and Jeremiah will probably agree with me on this. It's like when you're hiking somewhere and you happen to hike on the Appalachian Trail for a few miles of your hike. Like
yeah.
you're doing like a loop trail, but the Appalachian Trail crosses that and you hike on it for a while.
Mhm.
There's just something different when you're saying, dude, I'm hiking on the Appalachian Trail right now.
There just is.
It's just different. And I think as this grows, there's going to be that same kind of feeling when you're hiking on the APT. You're going to be like, oh, dude, I'm hiking on the APT right now.
That's right.
This is
Mhm.
awesome. I think I'm looking forward to when it gets to that point and it has that
Mhm.
mystique behind it. And people really get excited about when they hit sections of it. Like you said,
Absolutely.
the millions getting out there.
Yeah, yeah, you couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have said it better myself. Uh, there is a mystique to some of these trails, and it's difficult to describe. But when you experience it, you know exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, I remember a couple who they were in their, I think they were in their 90s, and they weren't hiking anymore, but they sure as hell stopped the car anytime they crossed the Appalachian Trail to get out and have their picture taken. And they sure as heck were members of the conservancy that makes that possible to
Mm-hmm.
happen. So, because though they weren't able to enjoy it the way that they wanted to, or that they had at another time in life, they still enjoyed it. It still brought something meaningful to their life, and it was something that they still wanted to support, so that other people could have that same thing. And so, I can't wait to see those pictures too. People
Yeah.
being like, we just drove over it. And
That's
we had to stop and eat a sandwich. We had to.
Well, Rue, thank you so much for being on tonight, man. It's always a joy. Like, seriously, we always end these with you. Everybody's smiling. Like, it's just like
That's
guarantee
right.
whenever you're on here. So thanks again, man. If you don't mind hanging out in the green room for a minute, and we'll close things down. We'll come back and say hi for a little bit with you. But
great, and fair winds, everyone.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, man. So Jeremiah, once again, just a wonderful time chatting with Rue.
It's fun, man. He's
Yes,
been
it
in
is.
Florida. I don't know about those gators. Keep me away. I did like the car wash analogy. That was hilarious.
Yeah, the reeds and the grass just kind of taking care of things for you.
I will tell you,
that's gotta be nice. It's less work if you think about it.
I'll tell you, we have our first T-shirt idea for merch here.
What?
This is for the podcast.
What? I don't even know about this. Tell me about it.
Stop Drunk Moose. I think that'd make a good T-shirt. Don't you think that'd make a good T-shirt? I'd wear that T-shirt. Stop Drunk Moose. Everybody put your pre-order right now. Stop Drunk Moose.
Drunk Moose need love too.
Yeah, you can make a whole clothing line out of it.
Oh my gosh. Well, good, Jeremiah, man. As always, this has been fun, man. This has been fun.
I had a blast, dude.
Absolutely. So next week, there is no live stream. Just so everybody knows, there's no live stream next week. We will have an online episode on Wednesday. So there will be an episode. It just won't be a live stream next week. Jeremiah's getting ready to go on spring break, so he's going to go down to Florida and hang out at the beach. So he heard Rue talking about Florida, got him excited, so he made plans to go down there. I don't think you're going to be spending time in a swamp, though, are you?
I think I'll be in the sandy beaches.
That's kind of what I figured. I didn't think Bridget would be too much into the swamps.
No swamp.
So, well, with that said, Jeremiah, for myself and you, thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next one.
Yeah. Adios, folks.